Hello from Gardening at Douentza here in Ireland, and I have for you today another Cattleya repotting video. So today what we're going to do is we're going to try and rescue this particular Cattleya here, and there are a couple of problems going on with it. So if we have a look here, you can see, I hope, how the back pseudobulbs have kind of withered and died away. And what I discovered today when watering is that this pseudobulb here is actually rotting. It's soft to the touch, so this requires emergency work. I need to do something with this right away, regardless of the fact that it's not the ideal time to repot it, in order to attempt to save it. So let's try and save a Cattleya. Okay, so before we get started on repotting and trying to save this Cattleya, let's just have an in-depth look at it. And this is a beautiful, beautiful Cattleya with a multitude of colours on the petals. It flowered for me 2.5 years ago, and I will link to that video at the end, and it was really, really beautiful. And then it was repotted 2 years ago. But since then, what has happened is the back pseudobulbs have gradually died away. Now, this wasn't so urgent. I mean, obviously the plant was getting smaller because presumably there aren't any corresponding roots to go with that. So the pot it was in was too big, so that wasn't ideal. But what has happened urgently today is this latest pseudobulb is quite mushy to the touch. So I need to do something with that urgently. Otherwise, the infection is going to spread to the rest of the plant. Now, what we'll also notice, having a look at the plant, is that there are black marks on the leaves. And even, I think, we have a pseudobulb that failed, that stalled, and it is that one there. And this is as a result of calcium deficiency, which I'm now addressing with the addition of oyster grit to my orchids. So that in itself isn't something to worry about, but we really do need to worry about this rotting. Now, it's not the ideal time to repot this Cattleya because I don't see any new growth. But if we look very carefully in here, we can see that there is a dormant eye that could rise to the challenge of making a new pseudobulb and pumping out some new roots. One on that side, and is there another one on the other side perhaps? Perhaps in there as well. So my hope is that, although it's a bit soon in the season to be repotting this Cattleya, that these two pseudobulbs will rise to the challenge and pump out some roots and save the plant. Now, this isn't, of course, a certain thing, but it's the hope. Okay, let's get on with the repotting. So the first thing we're going to do is manhandle this plant out of its pot and into this bowl here. And I imagine it's not going to be difficult to get out. I haven't even soaked it beforehand, because the pot is noticeably too big, so, oops, what with the root loss, so it's not going to be difficult to get out. And indeed I am right. So there's the pot, and here now is the plant. And as you can see, we do have some good roots. Those white ones are certainly alive, which is encouraging, very encouraging. And as we rotate the plant, these ones here at the back are, well, less healthy, and then goodness knows what's happening under that dead stuff. So what we next need to do then is just remove as much bark as possible in an attempt to get to grips with what's alive and what's dead, and to repot the plant. Now this one was so pretty when it was in flower. It had not an enormously great shape to the petals, but the colour combination was really wow. And yeah, so I'd be very happy if we can save it. And I don't know if you can see what's just happened. This old shriveled pseudobulb has just fallen off. I'm not even sure where it came from, but it's off. Okay, so over to the tap with this fella. And I will just switch on the tap here. Give it a bit of a rinse. And we'll just spray down the counter with a little bit of bleach to make sure it's nicely disinfected, and put the plant on here. And also we have secateurs that's been steeping in some bleach solution, which I'm going to use now. So I guess what we'll do is have a look at this plant, and as we can see, there are some decent roots here at the front which emanate from, we've got 5 good pseudobulbs. So the newest one here, this one, this one, this one, and a final one there. And then we have the rotting one just here. So what I'm actually going to do is cut the rhizome between the rotting pseudobulb. So I'm going to cut the rhizome between this pseudobulb here and the healthy part of the plant. And for this we have my trusty secateurs, which I will maneuver in as best I can, and snip. That was a healthy snip, wasn't it? And now I'm just going to remove any squidgy roots. So these are roots that are soft and squidgy to the touch, like this one here. And this one here, quite soft to the touch. I mean, there are some decent roots in there, so it just remains to see if the plant will actually hold on to those roots, or whether they'll die as a result of the repotting, which sometimes happens with Cattleyas. Here is my plant, all cleaned up and ready for repotting, and I actually can see several dormant eyes on the new pseudobulb, and also the one that's stalled here, the little tiny one here, even seems to have a dormant eye, which I'm not sure if you can see in there. But anyway, so we will be hopeful. Okay, so I've sterilised this pot in bleach, and we are going to repot the plant in here, in this pot, and hope for the best. The bark I'm using is large bark, Cattleya bark, which I recently purchased, and I'm delighted to finally have. So just put the bark around the plant. Now normally I'd pull this kind of to the back, but I'm actually kind of optimistic that some of these back pseudobulbs, one of these back pseudobulbs might actually produce an eye as well. So I don't really want to pull it all the way up to the back of the pot, because if this pseudobulb then decides to start growth, it won't have enough space. So I'm going to put it like kind of midway about there. And place lots of bark around it. Okay, now anyone who's watched my Cattleya repotting videos before knows that normally what I do is I tie the Cattleya very securely into the pot, which isn't really possible with this kind of pot. So what I'll do now is I will get a kind of little metal clip and hopefully that'll do the job. So to make an orchid clip you're going to need a clothes hanger like this, and it just so happens that I have one here I've been cutting up already, and you're going to need pliers. And the first thing you need to do is to cut the metal to the appropriate length. So you place the coat hanger in here at the furthest end of the cutting piece. This is the cutting piece here. And then to place a hand firmly around the furthest end of here, not up here, and then another hand around it, and then really press really hard, which is kind of difficult. And maybe I need to get somebody to help me. And here's my son Sam, who's going to help me out. Aren't you strong, Sam? It's really hard, really hard.
It's harder than I thought.
Yeah. Woo! Well done, Sam.
Thank
it's
you.
That bit on the floor I need though. Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so now that we have cut the thing, I'm now going to bend it so that it can be used on my orchid. And here we're going to use the flat end of the pliers and just kind of bend it down like that, and the other end. And now I end up with something that's this shape. And this I'm going to place with this bit over the rhizome, and then these two bits going down into the bark around the orchid, being very careful not to pierce the roots as I go down, kind of wiggling as we go. And the final step after watering is to just put some oyster grit around the top of the pot, and this hopefully will address all of these black marks that we see on it. And that brings me to the end of this video. I hope the Cattleya will go on to produce new roots and to do great things. We will see over time. Anyway, I've done as much as I can do for her at the moment, and it's really just a waiting game. And you know, with a lot of these things, there's no definitive answer on what to do in a particular scenario, and there's a lot of luck involved too. Okay, thank you very much for watching. And I have a lot more Cattleyas to repot at the moment because I've recently acquired some orchid bark. So if you would like to see more orchid, particularly Cattleya repotting videos, can't imagine why you would at this stage, but if you do, then mention down below. Thank you once again for watching and have a great day. Bye.